Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Mozambique says that the army secured the town of Palma. It was brutally attacked by jihadist insurgents in March, sending tens of thousands fleeing from their homes. Also, in Namibia, communities around the Okavango Delta are worried that their livelihoods and wildlife are at risk because of huge oil drilling plans. And Beninese footballers are livid over what they say was a low blow by their Sierra Leonese rivals, who they accuse of having falsified COVID test results to try and gain the upper hand in the game for the final qualifying slot for next year's Africa Cup of Nations. Now, Mozambique's army says that it's wrested back control of a key northern town from insurgents. Extremists attacked Palma in March, sending tens of thousands of people fleeing from the violence. The military says that a final pushback over the weekend saw them clear the remaining militants from the town. It's admitted that there was a significant loss of life and says that Palma is now safe. Nicolas Chemin has more.
Authorities in Mozambique were keen to show the town of Palma to the press. It was taken by jihadists last month, but the government says it is now safe after it killed a significant number of militants. Corpses of humans and animals can be seen in the streets. Many buildings were looted and burnt down.
A nossa presença aqui é por sabermos que as nossas forças de defesa e segurança entregaram-se à causa da pátria e tudo o que dizem e o que o governo depois traz a público é exatamente isso, de que o trabalho que foi realizado fez com que o inimigo fosse derrubado.
The United Nations estimated that more than 11,000 civilians fled Palma in recent days. The army said it was ready to bring humanitarian aid to the displaced.
A área sensível que nos faltava fazer a clarificação, fizemos isto esta manhã, está completamente segura. Penso que mesmo nos próximos tempos, se houver alguma ponte aérea para prover a alimentação às populações que estão a regressar, pode ser usada sem nenhum problema, já está segura.
French energy giant Total has temporarily abandoned a multi-billion-euro gas project in the area. Some security experts doubted the authorities' claim that not one jihadist was left in Palma. Militants linked to the Islamic State group have been increasingly active in the Cabo Delgado province since 2017.
Well, in what looks like one of Nigeria's biggest ever jailbreaks, more than 1,800 inmates have escaped from a prison in the south of the country. A heavily armed gang reportedly blasted their way into the Owerri prison in Imo State before getting into a gunfight with guards and freeing prisoners. Security forces are trying to round up the escapees, and the curfew's been brought in for some towns in the neighbouring Abia state. No one's yet claimed responsibility for the raid. Police chiefs, though, have blamed an Igbo secessionist faction called the Eastern Security Network. And 5 kidnapped students have been found by Nigerian soldiers. Authorities haven't released details of how the group was tracked down. They were part of 39 who were seized from their hostels at the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization in Afaka in Kaduna State last month. The abduction was the 4th since December, part of a wave of kidnappings in the northwest by armed gangs planning on ransoming off their young captives. Distraught parents have accused authorities of insensitivity for threatening to prosecute anyone negotiating with the kidnappers. Communities around the Okavango Delta are worried that their livelihoods and wildlife are at risk because of huge oil drilling plans. Canadian company Econ Africa has bought licenses off the Namibian government to carry out exploratory drilling across the country. Lambert Stecker with more.
Namibia's Okavango Basin, over 35,000 square kilometers of pristine landscapes and untouched wildlife that's home to thousands of exotic species. For centuries, humans living in these plains have coexisted with elephants, giraffes, and wildebeests. But in recent months, a new neighbor has appeared on the savannah's skyline, Canadian oil company Recon Africa.
Worried because the oil they are doing. We don't know what the effect of that oil and our environment.
Recon Africa believes the Okavango Basin could contain some of the world's largest oil reserves. It recently struck a deal with the Namibian government to conduct exploratory drills across the country. a massive venture which environmentalists warn could impede on the migration path of the world's largest elephant herd and completely transform the region's landscape.
The wildlife will be diminished and the beauty and pure nature that's here will be harmed in some way.
While many locals are opposed to the drilling and accuse Recon Africa of impeding on their land, others see the project as a vector of development and a welcome economic opportunity for the region. Recon Africa says it's been working closely with the government and traditional authorities to respect Namibia's land laws and claims the drilling will not have any environmental impact. A claim which for now is leaving conservationists and locals highly skeptical.
South Africa's pandemic lockdown opened up opportunities for thieves as key infrastructure was left unattended or little used. Many of the country's railways, trains and stations have been plundered over the last year as looters went to work stripping unguarded sites bare.
It was one unintended consequence of South Africa's lockdown. During that period, the stations were not guarded and many were looted. Thieves took everything from cables to doors, like here in Soweto.
When the shutdowns happened, there were no security guards that would come and guard the property of the government. It was only left for the people. So people came in stealing one by one until it was completely like this. And it happened within the space of 2 months.
The state-owned rail operator said the vast majority of stations were looted during the lockdown.
I'd say 80% of the station has been vandalized. So it's a tall order to refix them. That's why I speak about billions. That to refix it is going to cost us billions.
The vandalism occurred just as the government had launched a multi-billion-euro plan to modernise its train network. This factory is run by a consortium of French giant Alstom and South African company Ubumbano Rail.
1 year ago, we delivered one train set every 2 months. Now we deliver 3 train sets a month 1 year after. So we multiplied by 6 our delivery capacity.
The consortium has a contract to build a fleet of 3,600 coaches by 2030. The €2.8 billion contract is one of the largest in post-apartheid South Africa.
And finally, the Africa Cup of Nations 2022 qualifiers have taken a scandalous turn, with Benin's squad accusing Sierra Leone of falsifying COVID tests to try to gain the upper hand. The two sides were set to meet in Freetown last Tuesday, but it was called off. Benin needed just 1 point to take out the final qualifying place for the AFCON tournament. Sierra Leone needed a win. And just a few hours before kickoff, 5 Benin players were told that they were COVID positive, despite having recently tested negative. Now, the suspicious squirrels refused to play without their key teammates and have cried foul. The Confederation of African Football is investigating, and the game's been provisionally rescheduled for June. Benin's Steve Mounié has told France 24 that his team was livid.
At this moment, we were like, they us, you know. Sorry about my vocabulary, but we were like, okay, they us. We didn't see that coming, you know. And we were like, as well, we were like, it's impossible because 2 of the players they put had already the COVID. We had it before, like me, I had it 1 year before, and one of the players had it 1 month before. So it was basically impossible to get the virus because we've got the immune defense against the virus. So we were like, what the f***? We're going to play that game without any of the 5 players, you know? We were ready to play. But the thing is, we traveled with our Minister of Sports and our President of the Federation. And we were waiting for their decision. So when they came, they just say to us, okay, listen, guys, we have the proof that nobody is positive, okay? So because of that, we cannot accept to be treated that way, and we cannot let them fool us and trick us with that fake paper, you know? It's not even a paper, like an official paper. We cannot let them do what they are doing. So it's either everyone play or either nobody play. Me, I would say like the best decision has to be taken. I mean, it's hard. to accuse the Sierra Leone, the government of Sierra Leone, of cheating. You know, it's like if you accuse them of that, you accuse whole country of, whole system, sanitary system of being cheater. And I think it's not an easy case for the African Confederation of Football. So I just think like the best option is what they did, to report that game in June and to play that game on a neutral field, because obviously we cannot go back to Sierra Leone, and we cannot go back. We don't feel to go back to Sierra Leone after what happened.
Steve Mounié there letting us have his thoughts a little earlier on. Well, that's it from Eye on Africa, though. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Take care.